Hi everyone! Today I'm going to show you a new machine by Atomstack, the Atomstack P9. Without further ado, let's get into it. This is a relatively compact machine with 220 times 250 millimeters engraving area. By saying compact, that doesn't mean that the capabilities are limited. In fact, there will be a good amount of projects that you will be able to actually cut and engrave with this machine. In my particular experience, I found that the average size of project that I've ever cut or engraved is actually fitting nicely within the area of this machine. And so by saying so, you are not limited. Other than that, if you happen to buy a small machine because of budget or because of space constraint, and if from time to time you need to engrave something that is bigger than your machine, there is some tricks and workaround that you can follow in order to actually be able to do that. And I've actually posted a video a while back, so if you're interested, I'll put the link in the video description below so that you can watch. Now I will break down my let's say initial review, well, so this is not exactly a review of the machine, into multiple parts. I'll first cover the machine itself with the design. I'll then step into the offline controller and then speak about the laser modules. Towards the end, I will then give you my initial thought along with what I like and what I don't like about the machine. This is not meant to be an actual video review, and that's because I've been owning the machine for just a week, so I don't think like I can really give you an in-depth review and to tell you whether the machine is worthy or not. So I like to give you a fair review, and so for that I will need to experience the machine. I will in fact switch the machine as main working machine for my project so that I will see what kind of problems I encountered, if there is something that I like or I don't like along the way. And so for the video review, you will need to wait for a little bit more. Later on, I will also be able to compare the machine with other machines that I've owned and have been having experience with. Towards the end of the video, I will then show you how to easily set up the machine with both LaserGRBL and LightBurn software, and then show you also some of the testing that I've been performing so far. Now the machine has a pretty standard design. It's an aluminum metal construction and is a cantilever type of machine. That means that one of the axes, typically is the shortest one, is suspended. So it's fixed on one side and suspended from the other side. And this comes with its own benefit and drawback. This is normally typical for compact to small size of machines. As a design, you find off-shelf components, so as I said, it's pretty standard. There is some signature from the brand, some custom components there, one of which are the legs. The legs are made out of steel, and actually the legs make the machine particularly heavy. This is, I think, intentional from the brand because by making the machine heavier, they ensure that the machine is not going to rock back and forth on the surface if you are engraving at a fast rate. And so this is something actually pretty good. Speaking of speed, I haven't found any information about speed, neither in the website nor in the user manual provided. However, I went ahead to check the actual GRBL configuration settings within one of the two controlling softwares, and I found that the maximum speed has been settled to 6,000 millimeters per minute. Now, 6,000 millimeters per minute, it's fairly enough for everything. In my particular application, I usually don't go beyond the 3,000, 3,500 millimeters per minute. And so I believe that as long as laser engraver can reach that mark, you're basically good to go for many projects. Other than that, you have to also consider that the faster you go, the higher laser power you will need in order to be able to actually achieve the same engraving result into the material. Otherwise, you will find that the engraving is barely not visible. And so I will come into that when I speak about the laser modules on this machine. Now, an interesting feature about this machine, it's something that I'm sure you've been seeing in the ad, is the display in the front of the machine. This is actually an offline controller which allow you to fully control the machine offline. That means without having the need to be connected to a computer. Now, that doesn't mean that you won't need a PC at all, because you will still need some sort of computer to actually design your project and then to prepare the file for cutting or engraving. The beauty there, however, is that once you prepare your file, you prepare the G code with all the power and speed settings, you can basically save the file onto an SD card, which, by the way, Atomstack provides with the machine, along with one of those USB readers. Then you can basically stick the SD card onto the machine, and from there to prepare the machine and to launch the engraving job. Now, this is good because that doesn't require you to keep a PC, or especially if you have a laptop, running along with engraving projects, which sometimes might last even a few hours. The machine comes with a bunch of safety features, one of which it comes pretty much standard with all of these desktop laser engravers, and is the tilt protection. Now, with the tilt protection, the machine will basically stop in the eventuality where the machine gets inclined by a certain degree. And so I think with this machine is the safety angle is beyond 20 degrees, and so beyond 20 degrees the machine will stop. Now, this is good because the machine might fall off from the surface, from the table, if it's not correctly placed, or there is some excessive vibration for some reason. And so this is very good because this will prevent you or other stuff from catching on fire. Another safety features, I'm sure you've seen it in the front, is the high catching red button. That's an emergency stop. And that's something that unfortunately not all the manufacturers are including in their machine, but it should be a must for any machine that performs movement. And that's because anything can go wrong with this machine, from an internal failure to, for example, getting pinched yourself with a hand or with a finger somewhere. So there should always be a way to quickly stop the machine. Now, you might say, okay, there is the power cable, I can just pull that out and I'm good to go. Yes, in this particular machine the power cable is in the front, and so you can do that as easy. But in some other machines the power cable is not easily accessible. It's perhaps on the back side. And other than that, the functionality of the emergency stop are not only to stop the machine. Let's now talk about laser modules. The machine is offered with two different modules. One is the M40, which is the one that I got, and the other is the M50, which is more powerful, more expensive. Now, both laser modules are fixed focus modules. That means that you don't have a focusing knob to adjust the focus. You will simply rise or lower the laser module accordingly in order to position the focal point on the right spot. Atomstack made it actually easier by providing a small clearance plate, which will help you with actually focusing the module. So you'll basically interpose this clearance plate between the surface to engrave or cut and the laser module, and you're basically good to go. So this is very easy to do. Now, I've been already testing the M40 laser module. Not only testing, but I also been working with it for some of my personal projects, and I found it working pretty well. So the power that you get is fairly decent. Other than that, the laser module has a focal length, actually a depth of field of approximately 50 millimeters. So that means the length of the beam that is hot enough to actually give some cutting effect into the material. Now, the brand claims that the laser module can cut as deep as 15 millimeters of wood. Now, I've been testing that, and the maximum I could get by focusing the laser module, so that means by using the clearance plate it's 13 millimeters, and instead by going as far down as I can without touching the surface, that means keeping approximately 1 millimeter from the surface, I was able to reach 14 millimeters of cut. I don't want to say that the 15 millimeters claim it's a lie, because it all depends from the actual material, the actual hardness of wood that they used for the test. Alright, I will now go through my initial thought about the machine. I will tell you what I like and what I don't like about this machine at the time of recording this video. Now let's start with the assembly. The assembly took approximately 15 minutes. It's a very simple process, like with many other desktop machine. What I like though is that they are providing you with this fit, which accomplish a dual purpose. One of which is during the assembly, you will basically put the machine on top of them in a specific way, and so this will ensure that the machine is in plane with the surface where you are performing the installation, so that you don't have to go later on and to adjust the inclination of the cantilever axis, which later on you will find out it might create problems with your engraving and cuttings. And the other purpose is they can be used as a fit or risers to rise up the entire machine, and this will allow you basically to put thicker materials under, or to put their rotary jig with some bottle or glass, so in order to do that kind of job. And the other thing is that they are stackable, so they do not take up much space, so you can easily put them on site. Now, one thing that I don't like is the placement of the cables. You see, in the front of the machine, on the top specifically, they have placed the emergency stop, and then next to it, they have allocated the jack for both the USB and the power cable. However, by putting the cable in the top of the machine, this is basically in the way in general, but it's basically passing on top of the emergency button, and so by doing so you basically kind of lose the ability to quickly smash the hand on the emergency stop. Something else that I didn't like is with the laser module. Now the laser module have bunch of features that, let's say, they make it unique, but at the same time they create some problem. Now, first of all, I don't know if it's a design flaw, or if that's the way it's supposed to work, or if the thermal sensor is not properly working. The fan is constantly on, so that means that if you turn on the machine and then you sit in your PC trying to arrange the things, so while you do the preparation, basically you will hear this fan in the background, and the fan is also particularly noisy compared to other laser modules that I've been working with, and so this is something negative. The other thing is the actual length of the laser module. Now the module is basically extending all the way to the working surface, remaining with just 3 millimeters off the surface, and that's given by the clearance plate. Now this is good for two reasons. One is that you will notice that you don't get much flashing around the room, and that's because the laser, it's basically almost entirely enclosed, the process, and so the flashing is very well contained, so this is a good thing. And the other good thing is that by doing so, and the fan blowing on the top, basically the air that is channeled from the side and inside of the module, it's basically flushing out the smoke that is produced during the cutting or engraving. And so what I've noticed is that the cutting that I've performed with this machine so far, they are coming much cleaner, despite I'm not using an air assist, also because there is not much space there for an air assist, and so this is, let's say, a positive thing. So what I don't like is that the laser module extends all the way to the bottom, and there is no way to get higher clearance if you need to. And so this is negative, because if, for example, you need to secure your material, or as me, you want to hold down the material with some dumbbell or magnets, basically they will be on the way, and so you're not able to use that kind of mean to secure the material. Other than that, even when you find a way to secure the material, if the material happen to be a little bit out of shape, so not perfectly flat, once the laser module goes through and cut the material, the tension that is being released, it's basically rising up and it's stuck in the machine. That's something that already happened to me exactly while I was engraving Atomstack out of it. And so this is a negative thing that I see. Now let me go through some of the testing that I've been performing. I've already performed the engraving testing, and the one thing that I've noticed out of this engraving testing compared to other laser modules that I've been trying is that there is not much gradient. So it's like if the power, it's basically consistent out of it. And so this is something that I don't know. I will need to do some more testing in order to understand whether it's going to work out good or not. Other than that, I've performed also a Jervis test, and the Jervis test, you can see it on your own, you can judge it on your own. I think that at 2000 millimeters per minute, let's say 44% power, 0.1 millimeters scanning interval, it's a fairly good result, but it all depends from the actual material. So in this particular white birch plywood, this is the result. So you know that this kind of testing are strictly related to the actual material that you're performing them on, and so depending on the material you will get a different result. As per cutting ability, I normally cut projects out of 3.2 millimeters plywood, and I've been doing the test and I found that I can cut 3 millimeters of plywood at 250 millimeters per minute, 100% power. Now you know that working at full power is not good, and so I'll still need to carry out a cutting test. That's something that will follow, and I will discuss about it in my in-depth review video. Alright, so for the time being, I think that the machine performs quite well. I really like the idea of having an offline controller so that I'm able to basically do the project offline. And the other thing is that the laser module is performing quite well. Despite not being one of the most powerful one, it's able to cut flawlessly. I only have this negative remark about the fact that they have decided the laser module to go all the way to the bottom, and so if you have non-perfectly flat materials that they need to be held down to the board, you will have some problem with that. But other than that, hopefully you can buy flat sheets of material, so that's not an issue at all. The machine works with both controlling softwares, which are GRBL and LightBurn. Both are based on GRBL firmware, and the setup is fairly simple, so I will now guide you through the actual setup for both softwares. As for material, the laser is able to cut and engrave pretty much any material. Is also able to engrave reflective material. The laser module has a semi-reflective mirror in the inside, which will basically protect the actual diode from reflection bouncing off shining surfaces like stainless steel and so on. Other than that, I'm of the idea that with the right trick you can basically engrave any type of material. And so if you're following my channel, you know that also the glass can be engraved, metals can be engraved, so that's not an issue at all. It's all matter of working out a solution to achieve the same result. Alright, so let's now jump into it. Okay, so once you're done with the assembly and you've correctly wired everything up as per instruction, then you're basically good to go. Let's first connect the USB cable. Let's see how that's going to be. Here we go. And now the power cable. Once you're done with that, you can click the power button. You can see that the power button is now flash, so that's off. And so when you click, that's on. And everything powers up. And you can see also that we heard an audio feedback coming from our PC. Now we'll peel this off. And this is so far the interesting part about this machine. And so this is the display. And now I think we'll need to see the display a little bit better, so I will leave this here for now. And let's jump over to the PC and let's continue the setup from there. And so here I am in LightBurn, as you can see, already opened. And so I'll go straight away to device, then find my laser, then I'll give it a next. And this will scan for the available ports. And iLaser 220-250 at COM-A, so that seems to be the one. And so add the device, and so I will double check again here if the access are good, and so I'll give it a next. Then where the origin is, that's fine with me. Alright, that's all good to go, and finish. And so I'll give it OK. And now let's see over to the console. It's waiting for connection, so let's switch to the Atomstack. And so as you can see, the canvas automatically adjusted. Nothing is happening, so let me switch to the other port and then back to the port 8, and let's see what happened. And now finally we got it connected. I also saw the small movement of the axis. And so this machine has a home, so basically when we click on home we should see the axis moving. So now as a confirmation, let's go over to the move tab and let's give a movement. Actually, let's add a little bit more here in distance, say 50 millimeters. And so now we should see the machine moving without any problem. Alright. Now let me close LightBurn and let's open up LaserGRBL. Here the procedure will be equally simple. So let me drag this over to the center. So here there is no name for the machine. We just have a few ports depending on how many devices you have currently connected to your PC. So we saw from LightBurn that our port is the COM number 8, and so the baud rate is 115200. That's standard. And then let's give it on connect, and we are basically connected. Now, okay, it passed through alarm and everything. Let's see if we can move the machine. Yeah. So we are basically good to go. And so for the time being, I hope you found my video helpful. If you liked it, click the thumb up button below. If you have any comment, leave them below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you want to see more videos like this one. Ciao for now.